Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the candidate forum for West Dundee trustees in the consolidated election on April 6th. It's hosted by the League of Women Voters of the Elgin area. My name is Carol Grom and I will be the moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that works to empower voters and encourage informed participation in our democracy. One of the ways we do that is to hold candidate forums to provide voters an opportunity to hear the candidates running for election. The forums sponsored by the League give candidates for local offices a chance to present information about themselves and their candidacy, their background, skills, education, reasons for running for office, what they hope to accomplish if elected, and positions on various issues relevant to the office. All candidates in contested races were invited to participate in a forum. Each one was given the opportunity to fill out a candidate questionnaire, which is found on our website, and their written responses, if any, can be found in the voter guide. This evening, we'll have a chance to hear from the 5 candidates for West Dundee trustee: Cheryl Alopogianis, Cheryl Anderley, Pamela Carr Hagerman, Bob E. Sample, and Dan Wilbrandt. The format for today's forum will be a 3-minute opening statement, followed by 2-minute responses to questions from the moderator and ending with 2-minute closing statements. Our timekeeper will show the candidates when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and when their time is up. Questions for the candidates were selected from those submitted by League members. After the question and answer period, the candidates will have the opportunity to give a 2-minute closing statement beginning in reverse order. This forum will be recorded and posted to the League's YouTube channel, where it will be available for viewing via links on the LWVEA website, which is lwvelginarea.org. So welcome to our candidates and thank you for agreeing to participate tonight. Ms. Alopogianis, we're going to begin with your 3-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure being here and I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Cheryl Alopogianis. I have lived in the Northern Kane County area for approximately 20 years. I have been married to my husband, Fred, for 42 years this September. I have 2 adult children and I have 5 grandchildren. I've always been involved in any of the communities that I have lived in. We have lived in this general area for over 25 years, but in the Kane County area, 20 years. I was the first of the Algonquin Citizen Police Academy, handpicked by Chief Lane, given the opportunity to see what the community is all about. I was also the first PTO president for Westfield Community School, which gave me another avenue to look at as far as community and how the community works. We had that school up and running just as if it was not a brand new school, but a school that had been in existence for many years. Faith, family, and community are really my 3 major points here. My faith in God, my family, and of course the community that I live in and that I serve in. And I am all about community. I am part of the Northern Kane County Chamber of Commerce. I sit currently on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Village of West Dundee. I was on the Appearance Review Commission for the Village of West Dundee. And I'm also the Events and Fundraising Director for Hoof Woof and Meow Animal Rescue located in Gilbert's, Illinois. I look forward to hearing everybody else's bios here, getting to know each and every one of you a little bit better. A couple of you I know, a couple of you I do not know, and this will also offer me the opportunity to have a better understanding of what your views and feelings are about our wonderful town of West Dundee. So 3 minutes seems to be an awful long time. I see that I'm down to 1, but I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderley, your 3-minute opening statement, please.
First, I'd like to thank you for hosting this forum. I'm Cheryl Anderley, and I'm running for re-election as trustee for the Village of West Dundee. I'm 64. I'm a single mom to Henry, who's 21-year-old son. I've been a stakeholder in Old Town for 21 years now, but I have a long history with the village because I grew up in Carpentersville. My mom and sister both worked at the Chateau Louise. My dad belonged to the VFW, so I spent a lot of time here. I studied business and hospitality management at ECC. I currently work part-time for Dundee Township as a social services caseworker, say that fast 5 times. I've worked in supporting roles in both HR and legal practice for large corporations and small business or small family-owned businesses, and most recently in real estate law, which has helped me immensely in my role as trustee. I ran for trustee 4 years ago because I did all the volunteering I could do, and Mayor Nelson appointed me to the Downtown Task Force, Redevelopment Task Force, and so it seemed to be the next logical step for me. So we still have work to do on that project, and obviously we have the Spring Hill Mall project that will need to work with Village of Carpentersville and the mall ownership. So I believe we're on the cusp of some major changes coming up, and I want to continue to be part of the change and support the residents of West Dundee. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Hagerman.
Okay. My name is Pam Carr Hagerman. I've also been a resident of Dundee, West Dundee, for 21 years. But I've been kind of an outsider because I work professionally as a business person. And I'd like to step up and, give my professional experience and my knowledge to take West Dundee to the next level. I feel like we've kind of been stalled at this current level. So I'd like to take it to the next level. I'd like to apply my significant retail and e-commerce marketing experience to rebuild West Dundee as a retail destination for future generations. West Dundee residents continue to see their taxes increase to compensate for shrinking retail revenue. Rather than continuing to ask for new tax increases, I would like to lead an initiative to successfully grow retail to offset all the new expenses. So an additional area is I'm a digital marketing professional, which is something that I feel is very unique skill, and I'd like to migrate West Dundee beyond the status quo. We should be tapping into this mode of communication to aggressively sell our town as an attractive location to businesses and homeowners. I personally think it would be very exciting to guide Dundee through the discovery of some new breakthrough e-commerce ideas, digital community tools, things that just would facilitate attracting more digitally savvy residents and families to our neighborhoods. And finally, I would like to be a catalyst for producing new jobs in the area. West Dundee residents have experienced job losses due to the recent pandemic and other economic challenges. I'd like to apply my extensive marketing knowledge to position West Dundee as a location for companies to relocate to. An example could be all the businesses that are thriving during the pandemic, which would be e-commerce distribution centers, those type of things. As far as my experience, I'm a retail and e-commerce marketing professional. I have over 20 years experience. I have built businesses from the ground up. I've launched several e-commerce startups. I've re-platformed businesses for major companies and all different types of industries. And this involved anything from business strategy, site requirements, IT development, vendor management, merchandise onboarding, finance, legal, marketing strategy, analytics, a lot of things that I feel could be bringing Dundee to the next level. So also my broad marketing experience would allow me to be able to work on other village events and attractions such as core brand positioning I could work on, strategy, marketing communications, market research. I'm very skilled in market research. I know there's studies that need to be done, and resident retention. I have worked in leadership roles at Sears, Grainger, Chicago Tribune, Kraft Foods, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, UNESCO, Kiefer Aquatics, and most recently Zebra Technologies. And I have a BBA in advertising from Western Michigan University, a master's of science in direct marketing from Northwestern, and a web development certification from Illinois Institute of Art. So I think that my technical and communication skills would be an asset to the Village of West Dundee team to take us to the next level.
Thank you. Mr. Sample, your opening statement, please.
Well, first, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for their invitation for the forum. In 1978, my wife and I moved from Sleepy Hollow to our residence on Main Street in West Dundee, where we intended to live for about 3 years. We're still there, along with the Regiment of Honor Christmas decorations and many soldiers. During the subsequent 43 years, I have been a businessman starting new businesses in real estate, investment banking, and I pioneered as the first Bose residential sound dealer. This was instrumental to the introduction of low voltage and integrated electronics to the Chicago and suburban construction industry. The reason I decided to run for trustee was because I believe the West Dundee Village residents deserve to have at least one trustee who knows what it takes to create and run a successful business. I have had to work with many suburban communities in the city of Chicago on various building projects, and I know the difference between efficient government and those that are inefficient and cause the extra level of expense. It is also imperative that West Dundee develop a plan to revise the Spring Hill Mall property and support the business development in the downtown area. And I know there are several things going on there. It is also important to understand that we have a problem with two migrations. The migration out of Illinois of 200,000 plus people and the migration of Chicago city residents to the suburbs. We have to compete with the suburban communities for residents. And to do that, we must have low taxes. We have to have a community that people will be welcome in. Among other things, in the projects I have done in the area, I was responsible for the land, the 55 acres on the north side of Huntley Road, where Newport Coves is currently. My wife and I were the ones who did the name for Newport Coves and named all the streets, which are all nautical, from our nautical background. We also did the development of Pearl Vision at the corner of Huntley Road and 31. And I was involved with the Planning Commission for several years in the city. And in addition, I have taught or done lectures all across the United States in evaluation of businesses for the real estate industry and conducted seminars on how to start businesses and setting up accordingly. And I believe the things I know about West Dundee would be a benefit to everyone. And it's a city I would like to see grow. And I also, a long way back, was an assistant to Doyle Heffern with the Dundee Scots and then with the Crown Imperials.
Thank you. Now we're going to go finally to Mr. Wilbrandt.
Good evening, everybody, or whenever you're going to watch this. Thank you to the League for putting this on tonight. My name is Dan Wilbrandt, and I've been a West Dundee Village trustee since 2013, but I'm a lifelong West Dundee resident. I'm married to my wife, Nadia, of over 8 years, and a father of two young daughters, Sophia, who's 4, and Katya, who's 1. I'm currently an associate attorney at Wilbrandt Legal, my family's law practice here in Crystal Lake. And recently I was a criminal prosecutor in McHenry County before joining my father. I'm a graduate of the University of Illinois in Champaign with a bachelor's degree in speech communications, a master's degree at the University of Illinois in communication, and a law degree from the John Marshall Law School. But most importantly, I'm a graduate of Dundee Highlands Elementary School, Dundee Middle School, and Dundee Crown High School. I'm asking for your vote for Village Trustee because I have the right experience as a trustee, as a lawyer and as a former prosecutor, to continue to make informed decisions about the village each and every week. I have the right abilities, the communication skills, the problem-solving skills, organization, long-term planning to be a strong representative for the residents. And I have unwavering devotion to the village of West Dundee. As a lifelong resident, as a son of a West Dundee family, and as a father to a young West Dundee family, to always do what's right for my fellow neighbors. West Dundee is a great place to live and to raise a family, but West Dundee has many challenges, some small, some global pandemic sized, but I am qualified to meet those challenges for the village. I will continue to make West Dundee a great place to live and to raise a family. I thank you for your time in watching this and for putting on this forum. I hope for your vote coming up in the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to begin the question and answer portion of the forum with a reminder that each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. Ms. Alopogianis, again, we start with you. What are the most important issues facing West Dundee right now, and what steps should be taken to address them?
Well, I think the most important issues is, at this point, the development of the Spring Hill Mall area. I would say that that really is something that should be center focused. I do believe that the current trustees are working on that. And that is something that is going to be bringing us into the future in partnership along with Carpentersville. West Dundee, as all communities, are going to be going through some, well, I don't want to say awful times, but difficult times, especially with COVID, businesses closing down, people leaving the state, going elsewhere. Taxes, I don't know. I don't think taxes are that high here. I think at this point, I believe the West Dundee is probably has one of the lowest tax rates in the area. But certainly, we want to keep our level of service high, continue to always grow with that, maintain the best quality police force, fire department that we can, and serve the community to the best of our abilities. Going forward, I would like to see, as far as any monies or finances coming in, I'd certainly would like to see us to avail ourselves for any type of possible grants to help us for future, and to push out any type of capital expenditures currently that might be on the books to lessen the load on the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderley, the same question. What are the most important issues facing West Dundee, and what steps should be taken to address them?
Well, currently we have to shore up our tax base and keep the town growing. We have some housing issues that we need to look at as far as taking care of. I'm a big proponent that we need some more senior housing, not apartment buildings, but you know, smaller ranches that for people like me that want to retire and get out of a 2-story house, but we have nowhere to go here. And traffic is another issue that I've always been concerned with. I worked on Main Street for 3 years and was excited at the thought I could walk to work, but then after nearly being run over a few times. So our police department is doing a great job. They're trying very hard to get it under control, but you know, we have IDOT to deal with. So I'd like to see us take a stronger position with IDOT to get the traffic calmed and make it safe for people to cross the street, to drive, and have some walkability.
Thank you. Ms. Hagerman, same question. What are the most important issues facing West Dundee currently, and what steps should be taken to address them?
Well, I think the biggest issue as a resident, an outsider kind of looking at this is the Spring Hill Mall area. That's something that, you know, used to be a destination for people from all over the area, for people going for school shopping and Christmas shopping, etc. But just people are not coming here anymore because the mall, obviously, it's almost vacant, but because there was preference changes, people were going from wanting indoor malls to outdoor malls. People were looking for, there's other developments, Algonquin Commons and things were drawing people away. And then there's the whole online shopping. So the area itself, I believe there was some type of a study done in 2015, and we really haven't seen much movement on it. The data that was gathered, the things that were collected regarding shopping preferences are probably out of date, due to how people shop from COVID, et cetera. So I just think the whole retail and Spring Hill Mall is a very big priority, and there's possibly other opportunities that I could help with in e-commerce, things that, for example, the village could have its own e-commerce site that is for, Heritage Fest e-commerce and all the vendors that have their tents and their things. We could also have a marketplace that we could sell, let them sell their products there, and then they could market through their packages that they send out. So I just think there's a lot of brainstorming and breakthrough activities that we could grow retail here, not just the status quo, not just the way we've already done it. The other two areas, just digital presence, just for real-time information sharing, networking. People are using the Nextdoor app to communicate about our community, and we don't really have a way to communicate. And finally, I just think that coming out of the COVID, we need to sponsor affordable events and activities so that we can reopen the community, obviously safely, but we just need to have something fun to look forward to and just have a positive experience moving forward.
Thank you. Mr. Sample, same question. What are the most important issues facing West Dundee currently, and what steps should be taken to address them?
Thank you. Well, one I see every day. I back into Main Street out of my driveway, and the traffic problem on Highway 72 badly needs addressed, as it does through the community as well. And that's something I think needs to be addressed in much more detail than it has been. Secondly, the Spring Hill Mall is the area that we probably have to have the most long-term study on and work on. And in that area, through my business, I was very involved in the construction of several multi-level elderly care centers, the Park Place in Elmhurst, Admiral on the Lake downtown, and several others. And the need that we are facing today for elderly housing is tremendous. There's an additional number of people, 10,000 people each day go to over 65. By 1934, they say that there will be more people over 75 years old than people 18 and under. This is going to be a critical area. And the one thing that has been happening across the country, and I luckily got to work on some of this, are malls are turning themselves into creative areas for housing for elderly. The first one was in Holland, where by the nature of its interpretation, it is a setup for dementia. They call it dementia home. And in that area, the entire setup has a marketing mall for the tenants where they can go, walk around, buy things, and do things without any worry of going away.
Mr. Sample, I'm going to cut you off there, and we're going to get back to some of these issues maybe in a later question. Mr. Wilbrandt, same question. What are the most important issues facing West Dundee, and what steps should be taken to address them?
Revenue is always an important issue, always. It was 8 years ago when I ran, it was 4 years ago, and it is today. One of the things that we can do to address revenue is not just to put all of our eggs in the retail basket, but to diversify different areas of revenue. Cheryl talked about it briefly, but bringing more rooftops to West Dundee, more people that will come in and populate our restaurants, our malls, our shopping, our small businesses each and every day. Office space in West Dundee, getting people during daytime traffic to patronize West Dundee stores. Also, West Dundee has done a very good job building up a reserve revenue fund for times just like this. Last year, Cheryl and I didn't think we'd have to deal with a global pandemic, but here we are, right? If retail couldn't get any worse, now you can't even go to a store if you wanted to. Brick and mortar stores are having a tough time, not just because of the pandemic, but even before the pandemic. West Dundee lost some key anchors in the mall, our Best Buy, our Target, and many beloved restaurants and stores in the immediate area. Revenue is always an issue. But one of the biggest issues for day-to-day life in West Dundee is maintaining quality services, maintaining quality infrastructure, and making West Dundee the village amongst the suburbs that everybody wants to move to and raise their family in. That's what we can continue to provide because we can't control a pandemic. We're trying, we're doing our best. But right now we need to make West Dundee the best way of life that we can. So that is making our streets walkable, our community safe, and let people use our trails and our facilities to walk, jog, and go to events and festivals in West Dundee again once we're able to safely open.
Thank you. Okay, this next question will go first to Ms. Anderley. How should West Dundee balance the need for long-term expenditures for infrastructure and economic development with residents' desires to keep taxes low and the village a family-focused community with small-town character?
We, excuse me, we have a capital plan, and the board has agreed and prioritized to put $1 million in that fund every year so that we can maintain our streets and sewers and fire engines and buy the equipment that we need, because we deferred those kind of maintenance issues for so long during the recession. So we have to continue to do that. And we've brought in a couple of new apartment complexes to get more rooftops, more residents. And the way we can keep family focused is so that we have, I'm losing it here, so that we have, you know, the schools, keep the schools good, keep the streets paved, keep the crime down, taxes low, our services are good. This is a great place. I mean, I chose West Dundee to raise my son. Danny's raising his kids. Everybody's raising their children here. And this is a great place to live. We used to be known as Camelot in the, you know, in the suburbs. So it's just a phenomenal place to live. And it would be great if we'd be able to have a little bit more walkability. Our parks are nice. We have trails to go to. And I don't know if anybody knows it, but there's a tunnel underneath Route 31 just south of Strom Drive that you can go under, that the animals take, and to get over to Bonkoski Road. Check it out sometime.
Thank you. Ms. Hagerman, same question. How should West Dundee balance the need for long-term expenditures for infrastructure and economic development with residents' desires to keep taxes low and the village a family-focused community with small-town character?
Well, I mean, I think that it kind of echoes the previous questions, because if you're able to bring retail back here, then the taxes coming from retail is because West Dundee, when it was a very popular shopping destination, those types of questions were never asked because we had all of the money that we needed for infrastructure. But because we've seen such a retail decline, that is bringing this question to the forefront. When you're talking about things like Spring Hill Mall, we've heard a couple of ideas from several of the people here, but there's a lot of things that could be done to make it more family focused. It could be something where part of it goes to, you know, more of a business type situation where I was saying a distribution center for e-commerce or something that's a growing area. So something that provides jobs, but it's something that's sticking around, but then take part of it and make it like Navy Pier, where you've got, you know, people going to have fun. There's vendors there. You're going for a cup of coffee. You could go to walk your dog. So it creates a family destination, you know, could be indoor or outdoor, that people will come here with something to do. Because I mean, I'll just go on a side note. When I worked at the Chicago Tribune, I did a study in this area with regards to the economy and what people can afford and what they would like to do, et cetera. And it was kind of a depressed area. And what they wanted from the Tribune was they wanted to have us provide them with things to do for free with their families. So I just think that having that type of a space within the mall, in addition to having retail, in addition to having, you know, business, all of those produce the taxes that you would need, and you wouldn't really need to be talking about raising taxes.
Thank you. Mr. Sample, same question. How should West Dundee balance the need for long-term expenditures for infrastructure and economic development with residents' desires to keep taxes low and the village a family-focused community with small town character?
Well, first of all, you have to have income. And that goes back to what we have been talking about here on taxes. And when you start comparing taxes here to taxes up in the living areas in north of the border in Wisconsin, we have to look at that because those areas are becoming much better from a tax standpoint than the areas down in Illinois. In our own immediate area, I am not as optimistic on retail being reestablished in today's marketplace. When you have Amazon delivering everything within 1 day or less, we have Randall Road, which is completely covered with retail stores, and a lot of those are having problems. What we need to do is keep our costs down as much as possible, but we also need to look at those things which are viable to bring in additional tax dollars. And you look at what happened in Carpentersville when they got Walmart. That in West Dundee would have made a tremendous difference. Also understand that we missed a couple or three others where the trustees went a different direction than allowing the businesses which could have been viable to come in. And it's going to be a tough way to increase straight retail, I feel very strongly about.
Thank you. Mr. Wilbrandt, how should West Dundee balance the need for long-term expenditures for infrastructure and economic development with residents' desires to keep taxes low and the village a family-focused community with small town character?
Long-range priority planning. So we've done this with our street and infrastructure program, where we have taken a look at every street we have in West Dundee, noted which streets need the most work, and assembled a list of every street in West Dundee, and we're repaving them on a priority basis with a yearly budget for that project. We're also taking a look at things with grouping expenditures and bidding, so we get better deals from contractors that are bidding to these projects, because we're doing things consistently at the same time, and we're getting savings by doing these large projects. We transferred over our water department to a business enterprise where it's generating its own capital funding through water rates. It was tough to do at the time by manipulating the water rate to a point that can shift us over to that enterprise. But now that we're doing it, we're able to pay for the water capital expenditures within the water fund. Also, a budget savings. If we don't use all the money budgeted for an item, rather than spending the difference on a new budget item, it's saving that in the reserve fund or kicking it over to next year to pay for some budget shortfalls. As far as making West Dundee a family-friendly place and keeping that up and allowing money to be paid for family and community here in West Dundee, we're doing that too. There's a lot of things that can be done in West Dundee that doesn't necessarily cost money, but things like Heritage Fest, as soon as we get the riverfront done over on the south side, there's going to be more community events and public spaces. And as I talk about all the time on the village board, needs versus wants. We need infrastructure improvements, so we're budgeting and planning it ahead. We want a lot of other nice things, and all the money that we have, we're putting it back into the village, putting it back into the community, and hopefully giving the residents of West Dundee what they want, family-friendly activities.
Thank you. Ms. Alopogianis, same question. How should West Dundee balance the need for long-term expenditures for infrastructure and economic development with residents' desires to keep taxes low and the village a family-focused community with small town character?
Boy, a lot of great answers and a lot of great things that are already occurring with the village. Balancing the need for long-term expenditures, again, it's, you know, tightening our belt buckle here a little bit, just like we have to do in our own homes, in our own lives, and with our own families and that. Stay and spend within our means. Continue with budgeted items. Great point that Dan made, and that's, I think is something that's fabulous that's happening. If you're not spending the money on that budget, that item, the budgeted money on that item, you're not going to spend it someplace else. You're going to put it back into the reserves. So for something that could possibly happen in the future. You know, our infrastructure, making that Route 31 corridor more viable by adding additional water, sewer, and street infrastructure. And with that, I know that by utilizing the TIF monies that West Dundee already has put aside for that, I think this is something that we as a village are already looking at. And certainly being on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that we just don't look at anything. We're very focused on what we have in our town, not because we want to be choosy or arrogant about it, if per se, I don't know how it's coming off, but the fact of the matter is we want to have the right fit for the village so that everybody in the village can reap the benefits of it. So whatever type of business that's coming in here and that. So we just don't want to look at anything. And, you know, we already kind of have something, I think, that's become a center for attraction, and that's Life Zone 360. That facility right there is drawing a lot of people, a lot of families there, and that, unfortunately, with COVID, you know, the eating portion of that. But I drive down 72 and I see that place packed all the time with tournaments and things like that. And these are wonderful things that we currently have in place. And if we can expound more on that too, that would be great.
Thank you. This next question will go first to Ms. Hagerman. In order to grow, West Dundee needs a diversified housing stock that includes affordable homes for young people just starting out and downsizing seniors, especially in the low to moderate income range. What are your thoughts on the need for more affordable housing as part of a healthy mix of housing options?
Well, I mean, I actually think that West Dundee does have a very diverse housing offering. I know that there's been senior housing recently been developed. There's, you know, various ranges of apartments. There's older apartments, there's new apartments, there's ones for people starting out, ones that people have lived in a long time. The same with actual houses. I mean, I kind of laugh, but there's very distinct neighborhoods, very distinct types of houses. There's, you know, historic homes that are in the old town that, you know, they look beautiful. I live in one of them, but you have a lot of upkeep and maintenance, and they are not cheap. And then there's an extent all the way to brand new new development that can be expensive. It can be inexpensive. There's sections of West Dundee that have streets after streets of ranch houses that are very well kept up, but they're affordable. So I think that we are in a unique position that we have diverse housing without having the statistics in front of me that some people who are, you know, maybe incumbents have. I can just tell you that from what I see being developed and what I can see as the infrastructure plans, I think we already do have that.
Thank you. Mr. Sample, same question. In order to grow, West Dundee needs a diversified housing stock that includes affordable homes for young people just starting out and downsizing seniors, especially in the low to moderate income range. What are your thoughts on the need for more affordable housing as part of a healthy mix of housing options?
There definitely needs to be a housing option for the seniors. as I mentioned a little earlier, we're getting more and more seniors that are getting at the age of 65 and older, and they're looking for a place to stay within their neighborhood. So a certain percent would like to move away, but the higher percentage, about 65%, I think the figure that most is mentioned, elderly want to stay in the community in which they've been in. And they're looking for a place where they can stay. On the low income for young people, there's been this tremendous building of apartment complexes around, which is taking a lot of that market. And many of those units are actually designed to convert over to condominium units when that becomes viable. Right now, we're in a very tight real estate market. For instance, I think that the average day for a good property on the market is less than a week. And there's nothing coming online because of the expensive lumber and everything else is going into the construction side. I think the concentration should be more to the elderly side than to the young people coming out, because I think that market is covered.
Thank you. Mr. Wilbrandt, same question. What are your thoughts on the need for more affordable housing as part of a healthy mix of housing options?
And that's an interesting question, because a number of years ago, West Dundee had a group called CMAP do a study and to look at housing needs in West Dundee. And what we learned from that study convincingly was we need more moderately priced homes. A lot of millennials and newer generation residents want to rent instead of own, and we need more senior living. So what has West Dundee done with that information? We've attempted to open up at least 2, almost 3 now, senior living projects here in West Dundee. And they've been all over. One is built behind the old Chili's. We're working on one near Bonkoski Road in 31, and one didn't make it very far across from the West Dundee Police and Fire Station. So we are addressing that and looking to diversify with more senior living. Also, we have the Randall corridor and the Route 31 corridor too of open space. We're looking at development all the time. We're interested in senior living. We're looking at multifamily condos, apartments. And if you've seen the Canterfield developments, we've got a big complex over there too with beautiful apartments for those that don't necessarily want to buy a single family home. The housing market is very interesting right now, where single family homes at the right price point are going very quickly. That allows younger family in Old Town West Dundee to purchase a home, start their young family close to an elementary school, and take on what West Dundee has to offer. So we are constantly looking at developments. We're looking at these CMAP studies, and we're modifying West Dundee in our developments to meet those needs. And we're doing a very good job of it.
Thank you. Ms. Alopogianis, same question. What are your thoughts on the need for more affordable housing as part of a healthy mix of housing options?
If I can speak for everybody, I'm thinking the general consensus is we are doing a great job on that already, and that there definitely is the need. We certainly are making that attempt. As Dan had stated, 3 different complexes, or 2 for sure that went up. The other one across from the police station has taken a back burner. The other thing too, as far as annexing land, there's all that land that belongs to Hager, and I know hopefully we're working closely with them as far as how that land gets developed. I know that, again, being part of the planning and zoning, there's some guidance there that with the Hager properties and that on certain ways that for it to be developed in that, and these are things that certainly that we have to take into consideration. I was part of that CMAP study way back when, and I was shocked when they said that with regards to senior housing and more apartment complexes. I thought, are you kidding me? Apartment complexes? Who's going to rent an apartment? And holy cow, these apartments are filled. People paying, $1,500, upwards, $2,000 a month. I guess I just didn't realize at that time. I was in my beautiful single family home here, and I thought, well, why would anybody want to rent when they could buy their own home? But it's obviously the millennials, they're not ready to settle down. They're not ready to take on that mortgage. A lot of working people are transient. You know, maybe they'll only be in a position or for 2 years and then they go off to another state. So I think West Dundee currently has done a very good job on it. And should I be elected on as one of the trustees, I would continue to follow suits such as they have.
Ms. Anderley, at this point, maybe the whole group is pretty much in agreement, but since you mentioned that you are looking or at least thinking about downsizing, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I won't go over the whole CMAP study again, but you know, I'm 64. I live in a 2-story home. All my friends are in 2-story homes and we want to get out of them. And one of the things, you know, we have the springs behind the Chili's that Dan talked about, the senior housing project, but not myself nor any of my friends want to move into an apartment building. And we have the assisted living and memory care going in, but I'm not quite there yet. So I would like a small ranch and stay here in town where I love and I want to be. And my friends want to be here. They want to be near their grandchildren. They're not ready to leave. So we sort of missed a whole decade of people, and the baby boomers, you know, most have considerable income to spend. So if we could get a little neighborhood of smaller ranches, and we could have a whole new economy of people coming down into town to go to lunch, to ride their bicycles, and just enjoy life here, take a trip to the candy store, take the grandkids. It would be a great thing because we're not all ready to just march off into the memory care just yet.
Thank you. Next question goes first to Mr. Sample. What factors do you think should guide the village board in soliciting and approving new development?
First of all, with the new development coming in, you need to look at what is the viability of the development and what is its contribution going to be to the community. Is it a cash contributor, or is it something that's going to take facility and dollars and infrastructure from the city to support it without commensurate income coming back into it? Is it a viable, from the aspect of people using it? If it's a business, is it going to be viable and stay in business? You have to look at the overall projection of what that property is, change is going to take place and how it's going to come back into the coffers of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Wilbrandt, same question. What factors should guide the village board in soliciting and approving new development?
Yes, West Dundee has always looked at developments that fit the character of West Dundee. We're not building a 15-story high-rise anywhere because that's not West Dundee. We are limited in some way by our boundaries, by the river, by the fact that we have Route 31 and Route 72 running directly through our town. We don't have a railroad and a train station that comes in like many other small towns with a downtown like that. But we look for something that fits into the character of West Dundee. We're also looking for somebody that's not just going to build the development, sell it, and get out. We are looking for long-term investments in West Dundee where somebody's going to develop a property, own it, management, and continue to be a contributing partner to the village of West Dundee. And we ask those questions up front at every time we have a development come through that we discuss. Also, we have TIF funding in West Dundee for some of our need to develop areas around 31, 72, and these are draws for developments. It's not just us giving them money, it is us working with them to benefit the village. There are things like tap-on fees and access to our water supply that we sell them water in our facilities. So West Dundee always makes sure that we're looking out for the character of the village every time we have one of these development conversations. So when a development comes in, it's not just let's put up a building and see how it goes, but they're also giving back to the community with park space and with those tap-on fees that the village of West Dundee is able to use for infrastructure and other projects that can help grow and make sure that West Dundee maintains its character.
Thank you. Ms. Alopogianis, same question. What factors should guide the village in soliciting and approving new development?
Well, we have a great person who currently is doing quite a bit of that in Tim Scott, going out and looking at different developments, comparing other developments and that. And certainly as part of planning and zoning, we really take a hard, strong look at that. And they have for many, many years. And as Dan said, we want something that's going to be part of our community. We don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. We want it to look like it belongs. It's something that it could have even been here for years. And to continue with the quaintness of the town. And however that structure may look, it's really, let's say it's gone over with a fine tooth comb, certainly from planning and zoning. And then it takes its place in front of the board, and then the board, yay or nay, or we need to do something else. So there's a little bit of tweaking here and tweaking there, but certainly it needs to be something that's going to be a good fit for the community, and something that we know is going to be there for a long time. Again, to Dan's point too, we just don't want to go with a developer that's just going to, just kind of come in and, throw up a building, and the next thing you know, they're gone. This is something that's a commitment that's made between the builder and also between, the village of West Dundee, as far as tacking on the fees and what they need to pay, and that when they are doing some development on the land. Certainly these are things that the village has already been prepared to do, and it has been doing for a very long time, and I think doing a very good job at it.
Thank you. Ms. Anderley, your thoughts on what factors should guide the village in soliciting and approving new developments?
Well, I will echo what they said. Tim Scott's done a fabulous job. He's had a couple of companies relocate here out on our western border out towards Gilbert's. We have to me, it's if they come in, we can partner with people and we can help them develop property. But the first question should always be, how does this benefit the taxpayers? Does it fit in with our community? Does it bring a benefit to them? Because I agree, I don't want to see anybody come in, throw a building up, and then turn around and dump it and get out. And then we're left to clean up the mess. So does it benefit our community? Does it benefit our taxpayers if they're asking for money? But we're more than happy to partner with people.
Thank you. Ms. Hagerman, it's hard to be the last one to get the question, but I think you indicated you had some ideas on soliciting and approving new development. What would they be?
Sure. I mean, just overall to answer the question on the factors, I think it should be something that's more strategic. We should have a strategic plan of where we want West Dundee to be, not just looking at how existing, I mean, just futuristic, where you would like to be, and try to get a plan to get there versus being opportunistic of who comes along and do they fit within our structure or not. We should really have a plan and think like we're the best village in the world, and we should go after what we want based on what our strategic plan is. We should have an identity, et cetera. And then the second part would be, okay, so it's not just revenue, it's profitability. It's, taking how much revenue comes in versus the costs, and then ranking them of all the things that you feel are a good opportunity. How do they rank in profit? I mean, the idea that I was talking about is something that I actually did at the Chicago Tribune, where I created a marketplace. We brought in vendors from Randolph Street Market, other places where I solicited them. So it's similar to what we see at Heritage Fest, et cetera. But it's just giving the retailers an additional place to sell their merchandise. And it's something that we just, we provide the infrastructure, but it pays for itself through revenue sharing, where, we take a percentage of their revenue and that pays for the site. And so then they can market to new customers through, when they send the package out, they put in marketing materials like come to my website, come to my store, et cetera. But it takes all of those retailers that are just trying to get their foot in the door, and they may just only have a tent that they can sell jewelry in right now, and they can't afford something bigger, to have West Dundee have its own, the Heritage Fest, whatever, marketplace, online marketplace. So I just think that that's the kind of futuristic thinking that we should be doing versus we just want to have a one step up retail, or who can we get back to Spring Hill Mall? I just think that we need to really, tear it down and think, think as if we had to start over again, where we would like to be.
Okay, thank you. Last question. We'll go first to Mr. Wilbrandt. And this is, the COVID-19 pandemic has posed unexpected challenges to finances and plans for many villages and their residents. How has it affected West Dundee, and what is the path forward to recovery?
Okay, so the global question that I knew was going to come out here about the pandemic. So the Village of West Dundee has done a very good job in years preceding this in maintaining fiscal responsibility for something just like this. West Dundee has a multi-million-dollar reserve fund, but the good news is we don't even need to touch that, because West Dundee has continued to do the best we can with the orders from the governor and the state of Illinois and the federal regulations. While we did take a revenue hit for the sales tax from retail, restaurants, and bars, we've done the best we can to do curbside dining and carry out and everything like that. So all in all, West Dundee is receiving money from the government for the CARES Act. West Dundee is looking at about a shortfall of $225,000. The funding from the government is going to be to the tune of $450,000. So West Dundee is going to be smart and only allocate half of that money for this year, and we're still going to have a balanced budget on the way out of this year. And that's great news for West Dundee. It's been terrible to have that kind of lifestyle where you can't go where you want and you can't eat where you want, but West Dundee has done every single thing that we can to think about that we can make that work. And as far as the finances go, relatively speaking, this has been a year where the values of property have gone up. The tax rate has been consistent, and West Dundee has the lowest area cost of annual living in the entire region of the immediate towns. So West Dundee's done a very good job being a steward of West Dundee money, working through the pandemic and making sure if something should ever happen again, we still have that multi-million-dollar reserve fund. But at the end of this year and end of next year, some of those shortfalls will be covered with the CARES Act, and West Dundee's in a very good footing.
Thank you. Ms. Alopogianis, same question. The COVID-19 pandemic has posed unexpected challenges to finances and plans for many villages as well as their residents. How has it affected West Dundee, and what's the path forward to recovery?
Well, I think West Dundee has done a great job with regards to anything COVID related. They communicated clearly during everything for everybody in the community. I know that they provided PPE to their staff. Again, with being on the planning and zoning, all of our meetings were done via Zoom. So
Cheryl, you're cutting out. I don't know.
Meet at downtown, and I don't think he's okay. Hear me again? Hear me now?
Yeah.
How's that? Am I okay? How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you. So yeah, proceed.
You can hear me? Okay, all right. Okay. So actually, what I would recommend, though, is the development of a local plan by the village and local business leaders with regards to anything pandemic related. And certainly as a member of the Northern King County Chamber of Commerce, I understand that the business community does have a lot to offer, and to have a collaborative relationship with the village leadership. Maybe a special notification network for seniors who might not always have technology to stay abreast of anything updated on any kind of future public health crisis. This could be something that certainly, if I was elected trustee, it would be something that maybe we could look into. I do know also being, I had started our HOA here, and a lot of people in the community they don't use Facebook. So, and we were trying to figure out a way to, to get through to everybody with regards to meetings and things like that. Well, I don't think the older generation uses Facebook that often either. Email That's probably the way to go. But if we can have some way to
you're cutting out
at
again.
least get the seniors this
Okay, I think
this offering. I wasn't aware, Dan, so that again.
Okay, while you try and adjust your audio, we're going to take the question on to Ms. Anderley about the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the village and its plans and its residences, and what's the path forward?
Well, the pandemic, we lost about 15% of our revenue at the time when the pandemic hit. But, you know, the staff did a great job of scheduling people and trying to keep them apart. They dispersed people from home, and the employees that were able to worked from home. We deferred some capital projects that could be deferred without, you know, threatening public safety, such as painting the Spring Hill Mall water tower. And in order to try to help out our residents, we froze the water and sewer rates. We deferred late fees on the bills and suspended any kind of water shutoffs. So I think as Dan explained, we did get the CARES Act money. Thank you, US government. And we are positioned once, you know, everybody gets vaccinated and we get through this, we are positioned to just come roaring back. I know everybody's aching to get out and enjoy the sun and enjoy the river. So we're ready to go.
Thank you. Ms. Hagerman, how has the pandemic affected West Dundee and what is the path forward?
Well, I mean, COVID-19 was something that no one expected and no one really had experience with. I mean, I haven't seen a pandemic in my lifetime. So I feel that, you know, it was a learning experience. And in a sense, we kind of followed direction of what the state and the federal government told us to do. How would I do things differently? I think that first of all, there should be a really clear plan for protecting the vulnerable population, not only seniors, but people who have, you know, compromised immune systems. There should be an actual plan to protect them. The second is that I noticed that there was emergency powers that were written just for the president of West Dundee. So to me, that means that he had the ability to act in the best interests of the West Dundee residents, West Dundee businesses. So I think that moving forward, should this ever happen again, that should be something where there's maybe a town hall or there's some, you know, virtual or some way that we get the feedback from the businesses as to how we want to handle this locally. We don't have to follow what the state says because we had our own emergency powers. I don't know what that means. I just know that we have the ability now moving forward to be able to handle it within our own community. And then I personally think the communication was okay, but technology wise, I mean, we should start right now building an email list, building text messaging, all these type of things, so that when new things come across, a business owner can be texted, things can be communicated a lot faster so that there can be a plan in place for the business owners. And then the business owners really should have the decision-making power into how they want to handle their business moving forward. I think that we provided information that everyone had to handle it the same way because it's something new. We didn't know what to do. But now moving forward, if we have this communication with them, if something like this happens again, we'll be able to get their feedback. And we do have the emergency powers to be able to change it however it's best suits our businesses and our residents.
Thank you. Mr. Sample, how has the pandemic affected West Dundee and what's the path forward to recovery?
Well, first of all, I'd say that Dan made a very good report on what West Dundee did. From all I have seen, they did an exceptional job here in the village. But what concerns me most from the village standpoint is what is the aftermath going to be on the businesses as they go back into business, because they have lost their ability with extra cash and so forth. And will they be able to survive? I've heard and talked to a lot of business people that over the next year are going to disappear from business because they've done everything they could to stay in business. They're just hoping that someplace something will help them out. And that's my biggest concern for the village and for the state of Illinois as well.
Thank you all for answering our questions. At this time, we're going to go to the 2-minute closing statements. And hopefully you can bring up whatever topics weren't in the questions or follow-ups. Now would be your chance. First one will be Mr. Wilbrandt.
Thank you. For the last 8 years, it has been an honor to be elected as a West Dundee Village trustee. 8 years ago, the village took on a series of goals to make West Dundee a great place to live. We wanted to maintain a small town feel, maintain a safe, friendly village that you can walk, jog, and bike through. We wanted to maintain high quality services for every resident. We wanted to be fiscally stable and build a reserve fund while paying down debts. But West Dundee has faced many challenges along the way. Loss of revenue and retail sales tax, the decline of the mall, Sears, Macy's, JCPenney's, loss of Target, Best Buy, decline of brick and mortar stores in West Dundee and nationwide. Old debt that we've been carrying for years, increase in traffic on our main roads and even our side roads, and a global pandemic that nobody was prepared for. For the last 8 years, I worked with the board, Mayor Nelson, staff, and residents to meet every new situation with a financially conservative approach, counter every challenge with a well thought out and planned approach, and made every decision with a community-minded approach. For the last 8 years, we've had to do a lot of hard work, but it's beginning to pay off. We are not done with all of our goals and plans. We will continue to see improvements in the village of West Dundee as we continue to knock out our to-do list. On April 6th, I hope that I've earned your vote for village trustee for the last 8 years. I have been and will continue to be committed to lowering the tax budget on residents by continuing to vote against unnecessary property tax increases and unnecessary service rate hikes, supporting small businesses and long-term development, maintaining a business-friendly community and development opportunities, efficiently using TIF dollars for funding rather than increasing the burden on taxpayers, and maintaining high-quality services, infrastructure, and community, maintain the lowest annual cost of living in the area, continue to repair roads, infrastructure on a priority schedule, and maintain a safe, walkable community with family-friendly activities. Early voting begins on March 22nd. Election day is Tuesday, April 6th. I hope that I've earned your vote again, and for the next 4 years, I will continue to work for the residents of West Dundee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sample, your closing statement.
Well, thank you, and it was a pleasure to be with everyone here making their presentation. I look forward to the possibility of helping West Dundee achieve even better goals in the future. I believe that I can bring to the village knowledge that I have gained over the last 40 years in developing properties, working all around the area, plus the work that I've done I'm also the president of the Racine Yacht Club Youth Foundation, and I'm heavily involved in helping children learn a lot of different things and giving money into the youth of our communities. I believe that I have a perspective from the business standpoint and from living in West Dundee that I can give good counsel and ideas to the community, and can spend a lot of time on the traffic problem in particular. And I have a lot of knowledge in the area in the performance of elderly housing and how that should be developed around the mall area. It is something that could be very beneficial to the city and to the village area. And I would look forward to any vote that will help me be a trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hagerman, your closing statement, please.
Sure, I have it here. Well, I can't really see it too well there, but I'll just ad lib. I just wanted to, again, thank you for inviting me. This is the first time I've been in something like this, so it was interesting to see the format. It's interesting to meet people who live in my town that I probably haven't seen. So I'm glad that I met you guys today, at least virtually. I think that I'm a different candidate because I'm a business person, a current business person in the digital modern marketing type world versus the kind of the status quo and the way that things have always been done. And I have some specific experience in retail and e-commerce marketing that I could give those businesses that are struggling a leg up, be it through e-commerce, be it through different marketing ideas or programs that I could brainstorm with the group here that we could come up with to give them a leg up that doesn't really cost us a lot of money, so that we have those retailers and businesses that had to struggle through the pandemic. So rather than asking for tax increases, as we discussed many times, I think we should grow retail revenue. Also, as a digital marketing professional, we do have unique skills that take our communication to the next level. I did notice, for example, our social media barely updated. There's other things, the email, preparing an email list, getting text messaging, getting all of these communication tools in place so that not only can we react to situations, but we can promote our community. And then I just think that I'd like to also give back in being a catalyst for producing new jobs in the area. And that could be through all these different developments, but also through things like e-commerce distribution centers or things that are futuristic. So in closing, I ask that on April 6th, which is my birthday, if you vote for me, I'm going to be a change agent. I'm a person who wants lower taxes or no tax increases. And I'm going to break you out of this paradigm of where we are and where we've always been. And I'm going to take you to a place that you want to be, the futuristic place.
Thank you. Ms. Anderley.
Again, I want to thank you for hosting this forum tonight. It's been a pleasure to meet you all, the ones that I didn't know before and the people that I do know. It's great to hear your points of view. For me, I'm going to continue to stay focused on moving the village forward while retaining our small town feel. I'll do my best to keep our taxes low and make sure we spend your tax dollars judiciously. I can't talk. And I'm asking for your vote on April 6th. Thank you.
And lastly, Ms. Alopogianis.
As everyone else has also pointed out, thank you so much for hosting this. It was very enlightening and enjoyed it tremendously. As I stated in my opening statement, that faith, family, and community are really the three most important factors that I truly live by. I love the community that I live in, and I want to make sure that our levels of service are the highest level. Many economic challenges are ahead for communities, and I will work to ensure that the planning for the future is of high priority. Currently, West Dundee has the lowest effective tax rate for the region, and I plan on keeping it that way. I've been involved in all the communities that I've lived in for the past 25 years. As I stated previously, I've served on the first Citizens Police Academy in Algonquin, which gave me a better awareness of things happening in the community. First PTO president at Westfield Community School. I serve on I'm a member of the Northern King County Chamber of Commerce, which I serve as the chairperson of the ambassadors and sit on several committees. The ambassadors are the focal point for the chamber in getting out and seeing the local businesses and talking to the businesses and finding out what the business needs are and bringing new businesses on board with the Chamber of Commerce. I helped our HOA form, and I sat on the board as a secretary for 7 years. Currently, I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission for West Dundee, previously serving on the Appearance Review Commission, which is giving me an insight into how the workings of the Village of West Dundee work. And I want to continue with the good work that we are currently doing in the village as far as the planning and zoning, and also the work that the ARC committee has been doing for many, many years. And on April the 6th, I do ask for your vote. I ask for your vote knowing that I will do the absolute best to maintain the highest integrity for the Village of West Dundee and to try and maintain the lowest tax rate in the area. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for participating in this candidate forum and giving the voters a chance to hear your views. For more information on these and other candidates, check the voter guide on our league website, LWVELginarea.org. And I have to say, we have 5 candidates, all that have something to offer, and it's unfortunately, there's only 3 seats open. So I think people are going to have a hard choice. That concludes tonight's forum. I want to thank the candidates, the league members who work to provide this virtual forum, and the voters who take the time to watch these forums and learn about the candidates in order to make an informed choice. If you have applied for a vote by mail ballot, they will be mailed out beginning February 25th. Voting early in person at specified early voting sites begins on March 22nd, and voting on election day at your regular polling place will be April 6th. If you plan to vote early, please note that different sites are open different hours, and there may be changes this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You can check the Kane County Elections website for any updates on locations and hours. We hope that this candidate forum presented as a public service by the League of Women Voters has been helpful. If you're interested in joining the Elgin Area League of Women Voters or supporting the work that we do, please contact us at lwvelginarea.org. League membership is open to men as well as women, and we welcome anyone interested in issues, voter registration, and elections. Thank you and good night.